Hi everyone! It's been a long time. The entire last year, I feel like I blinked and I don't even know what happened. I think this video is going to be incredibly long because I have a lot to say. So grab a chair, grab a coffee, get ready. We're in for a long, wild ride. Basically, in all of my years of living on planet Earth, I did not know that I had a chronic illness. I do want to give a disclaimer before I go into this video. So in this video, I'm saying that I have endometriosis or some form of uterine disease. It takes on average 7 to 10 years for people to get diagnosed with endometriosis because of how difficult it is to get a diagnosis. I started this journey just a year ago, and so I'm still very much in the middle of my battle to get diagnosed. So obviously, as I continue to go get tests and do surgery, I will update you guys on my findings and my diagnoses. So what is endometriosis? So endometriosis is a type of uterine disease that occurs in the uterus, and it happens when you have excess tissue growing, and basically that extra tissue causes you a lot of pain and inflammation. And there are different stages of endometriosis, and you can go from stage 1 through 4. The stage of endometriosis that you have doesn't necessarily dictate the amount of pain or suffering you feel. It's not directly correlated. So you could have stage 4 endometriosis and not really feel a thing, and you can have stage 1 endometriosis and feel like your guts are being ripped out and pulverized. It is described as one of the top 10 most painful diseases. And I have to say, people were not joking when they said that endometriosis is incredibly painful. It ruins your life type of pain. My entire life, I have suffered with an abnormal level of pain during my periods, and as I got older, it got worse. I also started my period at a really freakishly young age. Tell me if you guys relate to this at all, but I started my period when I was 10, which is honestly diabolical. Why? I want you guys to imagine, I've been suffering like this ever since I was a child. So my period cramps have always been really, really bad. It gets worse every single year, and it got to the point where I was taking a handful, literal handful of pills every single time my period came, to the point where I was worried about melting holes through my stomach, and it's a very real concern. So it all started in March of 2024, where I was having my period really frequently, and I've had missed periods before because of stress, and I've also had 2 periods in a month because of stress. And because I own my own company, it's a very high stress job, so I started having my period twice a month, and I was okay, something's definitely wrong. During that time when I was having my period freak out, I was already searching for a gynecologist. It already took me 2 months to find a doctor within my insurance network that would accept my insurance. My health was already steadily, rapidly declining, and I was getting scared. My period went from coming every single 2 weeks to every single 6 days. And I must remind you that my period cramps are horrible. We're talking collapsing in public, having to be carried back home. It's bad. And so I go to my first gynecologist, and at the beginning it was just an ultrasound, they put the jelly on your tummy like you're a pregnant lady, and then they use the ultrasound and they look around. And the first ultrasound was completely clear. They couldn't see any obvious signs of any growths, and that was about it. That's the most that the ultrasound can do, but it's not very effective. They start with the least invasive test, and they get slowly more invasive as the ones that don't work as well, like, continued to show negative. They were like, okay, let's start you on birth control to regulate your hormones. And I was like, no, I absolutely do not want to be on birth control, because I was on birth control for the one time in my entire life in my early 20s, and it made me extremely depressed and it scared the absolute shit out of me. But this time, I was like, okay, you know what? It's different. It's been many years, and they're going to start me on the lowest dosage. So, you know, maybe I started the pill, and that's when the nausea started. It was so bad that I started projectile vomiting. And I slowly started to not be able to keep my food down. So not only was I in pain all the time, I also couldn't eat. And so I was rapidly losing weight, and I was bleeding out from my vagina all the time. So all of that is to say that I found out that the birth control was heavily contributing to my nausea. And so I went crawling back to the doctor, and I was like, doctor, please, like, I told you I didn't want to be on this. It's really, really messing me up. And so we get off the birth control, and we also put a camera in my vagina to look around and see if they can see any cysts or any growths, because at this point, like, we still have no idea what's happening. And of course, that test comes up negative as well. And they're like, I'm sorry, we really don't know what's going on with you. Even though they absolutely should, because they're, you know, a gynecologist's office. So then the next thing that I would have to do would be to get an endoscopy and a colonoscopy to take a camera in my throat to look inside, and then on the other end, take a camera up my butt to look inside to see what's going on. I don't want to drink the poo-poo juice, you guys, because in order to get a colonoscopy, they give you this like huge jug of horrible medicine that you drink, and it evacuates the premises. And then if that showed up clear, then the next stage would be to do a laparoscopy, which is a surgery to look for like endometriosis and PCOS or like other things that are like growing inside the uterus. As of now, the only way to get a diagnosis for endometriosis is to get that surgery. Everything was going well. I thought that I was going to get these procedures done, and then I was going to get a diagnosis, and then I was going to, you know, do my surgery, be on my merry way. It's gonna be fine. It was, in fact, not fine. Like, we're like month 4 into it now because of all of this back and forth of like finding the doctor, going to the doctor, doing all of these tests, and then the insurance comes in, and all of a sudden my gynecologist calls me and says, oh hey, your insurance actually has not been paying for any of this, and so you owe us thousands of dollars, and they wanted to charge me $10,000 out of pocket just for the surgery. Thus ensues like this weeks-long battle of me going between my insurance and my gynecologist's office, trying to fight them to get them to pay for this surgery that I need. All of the things that are happening to me that are like slowly killing me are still happening as I'm fighting between these two entities. And so ultimately, I have to leave my insurance company because they refuse to pay for anything, although I had been paying like hundreds of dollars every single month for like years, so that in the case that something like this happened, I would be covered. Lo and behold, this is a very common story, as we have come to understand in light of recent events. And then so I enter this sort of like weird limbo where I'm now like without insurance, and I'm like trying to find like an insurance that will, I don't know, like pay for all these things that I need it to. And this has taken literal months. Everything goes horribly wrong. And this has always been my greatest fear, which is to be uninsured and to have some sort of horrible medical mishap. Like, this is literally an American's worst nightmare come true. I think I've spoken enough about how horrible the American insurance system is. I think I've said my part, but it is the biggest reason why my surgery has been delayed to this day. Like it's been an entire year, and this story is not uncommon. Did you know that it was not legally required to have women be included in medical studies until it was ruled by Congress in 1993. So if you think about the years and the decades and even the centuries of medical misogyny leading to women not being included in health research, look at where it's led us today. I didn't even suspect that anything was wrong with me until I started realizing that there were like thousands of women on social media who shared the same experiences as me. So we're in like September maybe, and at this point I start talking about it openly on social media because I'm losing my mind. I feel I feel crazy, and it was just very validating to like talk to people. And I at that time still did not know that I probably had endometriosis, and it was only that I started talking about my frustrations, like literally with the American healthcare system, and like complaining about all my symptoms, that people were like, that sounds like what I have, which is endometriosis, and my inbox got flooded. And it was literally because of those like hundreds of messages that I started doing a lot of my own research, and I was like, oh my god, it's so obvious to me that I have endometriosis. Like all of my symptoms line up to a T. I've suffered with this my entire life. I've always been chronically ill, and this is the obvious reason why. And it was like the last piece of the puzzle finally fitting together, and then I was just like, I have to talk about this. This is ridiculous that like people go through this, and like I know how like I'm finally like on the other side, like where I know what it feels like, and it sucks. It really fucking sucks. The worst flare-up and also the longest flare-up I've ever had was actually last week, and it ended yesterday. Which the fact that I'm able to like get up and like do my makeup and sit in front of this camera after experiencing something like that only goes to show like how frustrated I am about all of this, and how like desperately it needs to be said. It was really heartbreaking because not only was I losing I guess like myself, like physically, I got to a point where I lost my ability to walk in, I think, December. I kid you not, I was in a wheelchair. That's the state that I was left in after months of lack of food, constant pain, constant nausea, lack of sleep, and constant bleeding. Because remember, I'm still bleeding every 6 days. And most of the days I was in bed. There were days where I couldn't shower for days in a row. Like I moved a chair into my shower just so that I could sit there. I would cry all the time because I was losing my mobility, and I would like crawl to sit outside in my backyard and just like watch the sun and just sit there and cry every single day, because life was really bleak. At a point I really thought I was going to die because I lost 13 pounds. I'm already a really petite person. I'm already so sickly, and so for all of that to happen as well, it was heartbreaking. And I feel like, yeah, those were probably the worst days of my life, where I thought that I was just gonna continue to wither away. During that time, it was really heartbreaking for me because like I finally had my dream job, you know, working for my own brand. I just got really sick, and I got more and more sick, and so I became more absent from work. I had to let go like the majority of my staff, which really broke my heart because I had worked so hard to get to that point. A part of me like feels really guilty too. Like it's hard to take time off work, especially when it's like something that like you've put so much love and energy into it. It's like it feels like quitting, but it's not, and like I want so badly to go back to work because like that's where like my heart and my brain belongs to be, because it's so fulfilling, and yet like my body is like trapped. That being said, we're still alive. The brand is still alive. Yeah, I just haven't been able to do as much as I would have liked. I had so much planned that I wanted for my brand for 2024, but instead it was all that time was just swallowed up by my illness. But in spite of it all, I truly believe that there are 2 reasons why I'm still alive. I think the first thing is honestly my tenacity. Like I am a very diligent person, and I've been sick maxing. I've like dedicated my entire year to like figuring out like the best ways to like combat the disease, how to make myself feel better. So I definitely live a much healthier lifestyle now, which I'm very, very grateful for, because you know, in the long run, I do think that having a habit like that will like enhance and prolong my life. And the other thing is that thank God that I'm Chinese. So I've like, you know, grown up going to acupuncturists, and so I've also like done a lot of Chinese medicine, thank God to my mother. And so I was like, okay, you know, like I'm waiting for, you know, like my Western doctor to, you know, kind of get their shit together, I'm gonna go find like a new Eastern doctor. I reconnected with an old acquaintance, and she is now somebody that I adore so much. I used to see her twice a week, but my condition is better these days. So I only see her once a week. I had like so many acupuncturists and doctors in the past, but I was like, I need somebody who really, really understands women's health, and I found Vanessa, and I love her so much. Truly, especially for women who are going through this like long, miserable diagnosis phase, like I feel like the only thing that has been keeping me like alive has honestly been seeing my Eastern medical practitioner to sort of like not cure the problem like at its root, which can only be cured by surgery, but like it really helps put all of the horrible symptoms into like remission. Going to acupuncture twice a week, I don't know how that shit works, but slowly, like within a month of going to her, I was able to slowly start to eat again. Like there were times where I couldn't eat for like a week, and there were weeks where I was only able to have a liquid diet, and the only nutrition I was getting was soup, smoothies, and protein shakes. And it was miserable. I was so hungry all the time, but I would physically throw up everything. But I don't know what it is. Like it's so crazy. Like acupuncture is a life hack. Like if you are not doing acupuncture, you're missing out on like the greatest buff in the world. And people ask me all the time like, oh, is it painful? It can be, but it really shouldn't be. Honestly, if you have a practitioner who like really talks to you, and you can always like, you should be able to say like, ow, that spot doesn't feel good. And I feel like if it's done right, like you shouldn't really feel much. That being said, Vanessa does tell me that out of all of the patients she's seen, I have the highest pain tolerance. It's impressive, and I'm quite proud of it, I must say, because it's unexpected for a frail woman, but it goes to show like how much pain, like debilitating pain, I've lived with my entire life. And it really makes sense to me because you guys know me, like if you've been here for a while, you guys know me, like I've done so many body piercing videos, and I literally just got my belly button pierced like throughout like all of this pain, because like shit doesn't hurt. Like it's really, really sad to say, but like my belly button piercing, that pain was like a 3 out of 10 compared to the shit that I feel during like my endometriosis flare-ups. My health has kind of stabilized, like it's at a shitty point, but it's not getting worse, which honestly, I think that's a huge win at this point. And so with everything that I've done to change my lifestyle, and also with the help of my lovely Vanessa, I feel like I'm like pretty stable, which is why I'm able to get to this point where I'm able to film a video for you guys and like talk about what has been going on, what I've been through, and to honestly just raise awareness, because a lot of people are going through this and a lot of people also don't know. I've had so many conversations with women who say like, I only started realizing that I was having a problem because you started talking about it. And I think that's like the really amazing part of having a platform, because as women and as people with uteruses, like sometimes we really do only have each other. Like we have to look out for each other and we have to like share our experiences, because otherwise like people are going to always tell us that it's not valid or it's not true. I know it's really cheesy, but I guess throughout all of this, like when you're really like at your worst point in your entire life, like you really start to recognize what matters. And I recognize that like I had a community who like really liked listening to me talk about this, and I don't take it for granted at all, because I don't know, it's something really special. So that being said, this video is so long already, just giving you guys like an update about like what has been going on. Initially this was supposed to be a Q&A video about what it's been like living with endometriosis, so I do have like a ton of questions that you guys sent to me from Instagram, and I will make another video soon. Like I want to make a lot of videos, honestly, like about what it's like living with this disease. So I will make that video answering like all of your questions. I have a lot of content that I've been filming for you guys for literally like over a year. Like I have meant to come back to YouTube with like full force for so long, because like I really just did miss it here. But now like I got sick and hopefully like I'm praying to God that I can be a little bit better so that I can continue to make videos for you guys, because I feel like there's so much that needs to be said, and I miss having like important conversations with you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to my journey. And if you guys have been following me and my journey on Instagram, thank you guys for, I don't know, being a part of this. I hopefully will have another video out soon. We're gonna try, maybe bi-monthly, I don't know. Yeah, so I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye!